Is Jesus declaring Peter the first pope? Or is this a message to each and every one of us? Is this something he's saying to you? He says, and I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So, let's go to the Greek. In the Greek it says, and I tell you, you are Peter, which is Petros. It's a masculine noun. It specifically means a rock, a stone, a pebble, maybe even a boulder, but a detached, movable rock. And then Jesus intentionally, and I did say synonyms are a thing, but he intentionally uses a variation of the same word within the same sentence. He says, but on this rock, Petra, which is a feminine noun, refers to a cliff, an immovable rock that the little pieces are a part of. It is upon the Petra, not the Petros, upon which Christ will build his church. Two different words. So is Peter an important founding father, as it were, of the church? Absolutely. It's very clear that he is definitely Jesus' right-hand man. We have the story of him walking on water. Next week we're going to hear about him witnessing the transfiguration. In Pentecost, he's the one that preaches the gospel. Acts 2, he's the first one to preach the gospel to Gentiles. In Acts 10, he's pretty much the main character in the book of Acts as you segue from the ministry of Jesus to the ministry of Paul. Peter's the linchpin that kind of ties the two together. Peter is a very important man, one of the most important men in history. He will definitely hold a special place in the kingdom of heaven, but the kingdom of heaven certainly wasn't built upon him. But let's ask Peter. We're going to ask Peter, what or who is the rock that the church is built upon? So we'll go to 1 Peter chapter 2. Peter writes, so put away all malice and deceit, and hypocrisy, and envy, and all slander. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. And you come to him, a living stone, rejected by the men, but in the sight of God chosen and precious. You yourselves, like living stones, are being built up in a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For it stands in Scripture, behold, I am laying in Zion a stone, a cornerstone, chosen and precious, and whoever believes in him will not be put to shame. So the honor is for you who believe, but for those who do not believe, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone of stumbling, a rock of offense. Now we're going to come back to that, and he uses that same language in Acts 4 when he's being interrogated by the Sanhedrin. But we'll continue. They stumble because they disobey the word, as they were destined to do. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your soul. Keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation. So unfortunately, Peter actually uses yet another word for stone here. He doesn't necessarily use the Petra and Petros throughout. He uses lithos, because that's basically like a masonry building stone, so it fits a little better in his analogy here. And he uses, here's your word of the day, akrodoniaios, which is the Greek for cornerstone. That's the cornerstone. But definitely see clear from Peter's epistle what he's saying. He's saying that all of us who believe are little stones, that when we're all held together, make a great and mighty house. And that it is Christ who is the cornerstone. In fact, he does use Petra in the one line. He uses it in verse 8 when he talks about a rock of offense. So it seems that the Petra, which Christ will build his church upon, the Petra that the world will see as an offense, is not Peter the man, but it's his confession of faith. That you are the Christ. You are the Son of the living God. And it's his confession which is the key to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he is the Christ. So Peter told us that we are all living stones being built up as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood. He's rejecting in that the idea that he has some kind of special authority. He's telling us that we all have the keys of the kingdom right in front of us. You reach in the book right in front of you in your seat, that's the keys of the kingdom. The imagery he's using is the same as we use today when we say we're going to give a dignitary the keys to the city. They're not any actual physical keys. They're certainly not magical keys. He's saying that what you need is right there. You don't need magical authority. You don't need secret codes. Everything you need, the keys to the kingdom of heaven, is in his word. Not a secret. It's available to anyone who will take hold of the Bible.